I suppose we can summarise it in two parts, really. For the first 20 years or so of my career, I had the dubious pleasure to be involved in the stock market. I started off at an old traditional firm in Manchester, and then in 1984, along with a partner, I went to a small investment management company, and gradually over the years we built that up into a very substantial concern. And by 1996 we had around £500 million under management and 4 or 5 offices, about 120 to 30 staff. But by 1996, as you can imagine, that happens to be a career when then at the age of 41 you're pretty well burnt out. And frankly, when a management buyout team came to me with what I felt was a pretty generous offer, I decided to take early retirement. But that wasn't the only reason. It wasn't just the money. It was the fact, to be honest with you, I'd got fed up of wearing suits. So I thought a career change was about due. So following on from that, I became part of what was dubiously called Business Angels. And Business Angels really is a group of people from different backgrounds in life who are looking to help and mentor, and not just with financial backing, to make small businesses grow into something worthwhile. And you have to understand that in the world of business, the bigger you are, then the easier it is to borrow money. So to borrow £1 million is a lot easier than to borrow £10,000. So Business Angels seemed a good move to me to get into something that was completely different. And obviously, buying a garage in 2001, you couldn't get any further removed from the stock market. But it wasn't simply to invest in that business or to invest in those people. It was for me to have some sort of participation where I felt the skills that I'd learned in all my years in working in the stock market would be put to good use into something, whilst it was different, that fundamentally it had the same principles. That's customer service, identifying opportunities, making sure that you've got stringent financial controls. So those are all principles that apply regardless of what the business is, whether it's a big multinational company like Sky Television or simply a news agent on the corner of a street. So that's how I arrived at the garage trade. And in essence, there was one other reason, and that is, like lots of people, I'd always had a keen interest in cars. Didn't have a clue how to mend them or how they worked, but they were always a fascination. Particularly those models of my youth in the 60s and 70s, so the Capris and the Cortinas and the Minis and the Austin 1100s. Those were always a great fascination. And in the stock market, there are various gurus that you'll come across. And most of them, frankly, aren't worth the time of day. But there is one that has always had my utmost respect, and that's a gentleman called Warren Buffett. And Warren Buffett is referred to as the Sage of Omaha. Now, to acquire that title, it means that over the years, he's given to us all words of great wisdom. And one of those principles, as far as Warren Buffett was concerned, is only invest in businesses that you have an interest for and that you understand how it works. And to some degree, I did have an interest because I was interested in cars, and I did understand the basic principles. So that's how we arrived at the garage business, and ultimately how we've arrived today at Little Belters. And the stimulation for Little Belters really came along some years ago now, when my own 2 daughters, they passed the driving test, they were going to go off to university. I need to get them a car. I didn't want to pay a fortune for it. I didn't want to pay massive insurance premiums. But I did want something that was reliable. I wanted it to be safe. And I wanted to know that I was going to get it from somewhere that would look after me. And there wouldn't be just this initial urge to sell me a car, and then really not take any interest after that. So that was a motivation. I didn't do it at the time, but over the years I've got something that I think is now commonly referred to as brain itch. So ever since then, I wanted to do something where we could expand on the knowledge and the facilities and also the experience at Lee Autos. And I knew that the car business was something that we could look to explore. And certainly I spent a good 6 months to a year doing my research, doing the background, before we actually launched Little Belters. So that's how we arrived at Little Belters, as it is today.